before we do anything, Doc IAB13, top of the morning, top of the afternoon. We the biggest. We are not the same. I am Barbarian Hak, and I am a professional bodybuilder and a head bodybuilding judge. I'm also a strength and conditioning coach, master trainer, sports nutritionist. I train many pro athletes in different realms, from fighting to bodybuilding to basketball players, baseball players, etc. I'm a sponsored athlete with MTS Nutrition and TigerFitness.com. So that's just a little bit about me.
So how'd you actually get into this big world of fitness to start things off?
I always been very active. So when I was younger, I was either competing as a fighter. So I used to fight when I was younger. I was into boxing. I was into martial arts. And so when I was in my 20s, it got to the point where I was actually coaching people and getting them ready for shows while I was doing something else. And it got to the point where a lot of people were winning pro cards and winning pro shows. And I got to the point where I told a couple of them, I said, hey, like, do you mind if I get some of your trophies so I can put a mural together in my house? And they're like, nah, man, you're always in shape. You're always shredded. You might as well get your own. And I said, all right, well, you know what? Maybe I will. So I kind of sat back one day and I said, you know what? When it comes to where I'm at in my fitness journey, I've always been training. I used to do calisthenics all the time, daily. It was a regiment where we had to do 500 pull-ups, 500 dips, and at least 500 push-ups daily. It was just a thing that we had. I'm also Native American, so within our tribe, we always wanted to be active. So I said, fuck it. I went all the way in and I fell in love with the process. I fell in love with getting ready for the show. Standing on stage is just icing on the cake. I've never been that person. A lot of people know me for being loud on, Instagram, just because I'm a loud person in person. I'm just loud, but yeah, I just went all in and I just fell in love with the process of getting to know yourself when you're getting in a dark place, when you're prepping for a show, body fat levels are low, and you still got to lift that weight. You still got to get things done. You still have to be productive at work or running a business like I do. You still have to be you, even though that part of you is changing or improving. So it was just a fantastic experience.
Was kind of the physical world was being physical and utilizing your body and things like that, shaping your body and trying to improve your body for performance and things like that. Was that just like a natural instinct to you? Was it something that, was kind of like, hey, other people are doing it, so let me kind of be a part of the community? Like, what really led you from like a true beginnings aspect into wanting to actually become physical?
Well, I mean, growing up in New York City, you have to know how to defend yourself. So it got to a point where I wanted to learn how to fight and protect myself. I was always into some kind of sport. So growing up, I grew up in martial arts, and then from martial arts, I moved on to boxing and kind of switch sports per se. But I played basketball since I could dribble. As soon as I grabbed the basketball, that's what I was doing. So it really wasn't something that was like, oh, I have to do this or I'm gonna die, or something detrimental to make a light switch. I just know there was a light switch when I first did my show. The first show I ever did, there was a switch in my head that said, you know what, if I can apply this amount of attention to physically change my body, imagine how much more productive I can be in life by using these tools that I've honed and was able to pull in and grasp. And I was like, hey, I can use this in business. I can use this in pretty much anything, relationships. Like, you're going to consistency, right? You need consistency, you need dedication. So there's a lot of things that go into play. So it wasn't really like something crazy that flicked the switch, but I know I know as a coach, what flicked the switch was when I first had a client who was over 400 pounds and I helped them lose over 100 pounds and they got rid of their medications. When the doctors were like, hey, you no longer need medications. You're healthier, your blood pressure's better, no more blood pressure medication. Over the time it reduced. So it was kind of that feeling of watching them win made me feel very satisfied. And that's when I decided I wanted to help more people.
And you mentioned growing up in New York and feeling like you had to be able to defend yourself. Do you feel like you kind of still can draw from that feeling and that sense of like survival, even when you're doing stuff now, even that's like, a bodybuilding show or, helping someone achieve their goals or achieve a health goal, even maybe even more. Do you feel like you can kind of draw on that, like that feeling of what it must have been like to be like doing something because you knew that like it was going to help you literally survive?
Oh yeah, of course. One of the things I do with a lot of the clients that I do get and athletes that I speak to is I speak to them from my wisdom and my perspective. So we all know that knowledge is the foundation of all things in existence, and wisdom comes after knowledge. And only mastering your wisdom is how you become fully understanding of anything. So with that being said, I actually become more of a mental coach for a lot of these athletes and even just like I have thousands of DMs daily of people who ask me questions. Some of them I'll make a video because I know it will help others. And then some of these questions are literally pertaining to a particular person's in like it's their individual need. So I would help them and I don't want a dollar for it. Like I really love helping people. I've actually helped people and not coached them and they still got in shape just by having these conversations. But a lot of the stuff is really like, you know, do the things that you do the things you don't want to do just like you love doing it and do it over and over. Having the dedication of wanting change, like I always tell a lot of people, there's no real such thing as motivation. That's an internal thing. You can't look outside yourself for motivation, but what you can do is you can look at, okay, it took me whatever. Let's say a person is 35 years old. It took you 35 years to look the way you do. Whether you're in shape or you're not, that's how long it took for you to look the way you do today. So there's nothing that's going to change your physical appearance in 8, 10, 12, 24 weeks that's going to reverse the 35 years. But if you give it time and dedication, just like anything else, one day you'll wake up and you'll look back and say, holy moly, guacamole, I do not look the same. And that's why one of the mottos that I say is we are not the same. The reason that we say that, so I have a team that we've developed called The Biggest, and it's a movement. What we're doing is pushing the biggest mindset. We want people to look at anything that they do. It has nothing to do with physical appearance because I'm not even 200 pounds. Like, I get it. I'm not the biggest as far as size wise. I step on stage at 168 pounds. I'm a middleweight bodybuilder, right? But I beat people 200 pounds. I beat people 220 because of that same thing you just said. I put that mentality of when I was in the Bronx and in the Harlem, and I know I'm in this area, and I know I have to demand the respect. So when I get on stage, I'm not cocky, I'm just confident because I did all the work. All the work is done. I get on stage and I portray that. That's the same mentality I tell clients, whether they want to go and compete, because I have a lot of people that compete at the highest levels. And I always tell them, hey, look, you're backstage pumping up. It's not the time to make friends. You can talk to people afterward because right now, as a professional, you're making money, correct? Okay. So with that being said, do you think Joe Schmo cares if your children eat tomorrow if you win the show? No. So you can go talk to Joe Schmo when you go get some Mello's Pizza or whatever it is that you want to eat. But right now, you're number one, and everybody else just paid extra to be next to you. So they're backstage pumping up because they're all fighting for second place. The mental game is the most important. So I do hone into it, and I kind of have to figure out the athlete. I consider everyone that works with me an athlete. So I got to kind of figure out the athlete for a while to figure out how they can draw, because they can't draw my wisdom or my feelings based on what I went through, but they can have similar, and I help them feed that beast that is in them and allow them to unleash it.
Do you think that having like a fighting, boxing, MMA background kind of helps you in regards to like being able to hone in on that mindset more?
Each sport has its own versions of dedication and discipline, right? So a boxer gets ready for their event totally different than a bodybuilder would. Like a bodybuilder is 24/7, 365. You got to eat the meal. If you miss the meal, you miss the meal. Like there is no trying to make up for anything. If you don't get to sleep, you don't get to sleep. With boxing, it's about your performance, and bodybuilding is about what you look like. So I mean, the competitive aspect or the competitive mindset, yes, I do hone into that, but I also utilize that in all aspects of life, just like I tell everybody else. You got to find what is your strength and what is your weakness and go with those strengths and make those weak parts that you have, make them stronger.
You mentioned that you're not like the biggest bodybuilder on stage, but you can compete with and beat bigger bodybuilders. Do you think that they're like in bodybuilding specifically nowadays, maybe there's a sense of like, oh man, the only way I'm going to beat this person is I need to get bigger and bigger and bigger. If that's what they're doing, I have to do the exact same thing. Do you think that the strategy of like getting better at the things that you're better at, not getting better at the things that your opponent is better at, is is kind of a lost art in the sport of bodybuilding?
I feel like there's a few of us left, and then there's those that fall into the trend. They fall into that trend of, well, everyone else is big, so let me get bigger. Like don't don't get it twisted. I'm still on the verge of growing, and I'm always pushing to get bigger when I'm getting in that grow phase. So I'm in different phases throughout the year. I'm either in a prep phase where I'm getting as shredded as possible, or I'm not competing and I'm in a grow phase where I'm trying to bring up certain body parts and I'm trying to make those body parts better. Like there's always going to be body parts, whether it be your quads, your shoulders, your chest, your teres, your lats, right? Um, I can't speak for anyone else, but I can only speak for myself. I may not be the biggest on stage physically, but my mind is bigger than anyone else's. I will come on and play my strength. My strength is I don't care about suffering. It does nothing to me. I will suffer as much as I have to come inside out peeled, and I will come in shredded. I will look like an anatomy chart. And my strategy from day one, from when I competed and stepped on stage at my first bodybuilding show at 130 pounds, shredded and sliced and diced, winning an overall, winning a pro card at 135 pounds. Okay. My strength is I can get shredded. So my strategy is I will go on stage and make you look fat. So you can play the size game all you want. You can try to be the huffy puffy round guy. I'm going to come in and I'm going to make you look fat. You can have abs and all that. But when we go on stage, that's my strategy. And that's my strength. There are other bodybuilders who they can stay fuller as they shred down. So their strategy would be to come in as full as round as possible because they know they can get shredded, and their strength is coming in round and full to make the other guys look really small. So everyone has their strength. I play mine. I'll come in shredded and I'll leave it up to the judges. I'll make people look fat.
And do you think that, you kind of mentioned it a few times there, not straight away, but do you think that it seems like a very pro mindset. Do you think that you had that when you first got into the sport, or do you think that it took you a while to develop that?
I can say that a level of confidence increased tremendously over the years. For example, when I first started competing in bodybuilding, I was competing in natural organizations, and I won my pro cards there. And it got to the point where I developed a physique where I felt that I can go up against people who are enhanced and beat them. And I chose to go that route to be able to say, look, not only did I go this route and was able to compete against people who are enhanced and beat them, I also don't consume dairy products. I also don't consume animal products. So there's no excuse. If I can be a plant-based, lifetime plant-based professional athlete who goes on stage, who's not enhanced, and competes against people who are enhanced and places very well and win shows, there's no excuse for anyone else who decides, look, there may be somebody watching this who's eating their chicken and rice, but they're not enhanced. But they're thinking, well, I can't do it. You got one up on me. You're doing your chicken and rice. I'm eating plants. I think I did very well for myself by eating plants.
What's the what is that a personal philosophy that you've developed over the years with your diet, or is that something that's been with you for more of a long
That's
time?
that was our tribal customs. Our tribal customs were to be one with the animals, protect the animals, eat from the earth, and do not consume anything with eyes or a soul.
Gotcha. And has that been was that challenged at all, like in your own head at any time in regards to bodybuilding, or maybe any even like external challenges from people close to you?
Nope. I mean, there's been people that said I couldn't compete in bodybuilding. There's people who told me I wouldn't be able to win a bodybuilding show. There's people that told me I would never be able to become a pro. There's people that told me I would never be able to win a pro show. There's people that told me, okay, you won the pro show, you became a pro, you were able to win, but you can't beat people who are enhanced. I've been knocking down everything that people have been saying. So to be honest with you, the more people tell me that I can't do something, that's more of a reason why I will do it.
And do you think that there's something to that in regards to like just the specifics of your diet, that maybe somebody that is eating more animal products, meat, dairy, whatever, that it's just not like unlocking the same things that your diet is allowing your body to unlock in any way?
Well, I know that eating a plant-based lifestyle, your digestion is better because you're able to digest food faster, assimilate faster. Certain meats take up to 30 days to fully process throughout the body. That means fully. Like you could have eaten it today, but in 30 days, that's when it's fully out of the system. So, I mean, let's look at a gorilla. Gorilla eats plants, apex predator, one of the strongest on the planet, if not the strongest. A lot of people eat cows for protein, right? But what does the cow eat? Cow eats grass. So I'm not here telling people try to be like me, stop eating. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm creating the lane and showing you it can be done. Actions speak louder than words. There's so many people that go out there and they make it to where it becomes something negative that somebody doesn't even want to consider. Right. So they make it so where it's like, oh, I don't like those people because they're always telling me about how this and that and animal, right? So what I did is I decided, well, I mean, I'm just going to do what I know I'm going to do. I'm going to set the bar, then set a new one. I'm going to crush these goals. I'm going to do everything that people say can't be done off plants. And then now I just created the link. So now you can't say it can't be done because I've done it. And if I can do it, you can. There's no difference between you and I. So even if you're a meat eater, but you don't want to do certain things, but you still want to become a bodybuilder, you can still do those things.
Are you looking for a supplement company that can help take your fitness game to the next level? Look no further than All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Their cutting-edge supplements are scientifically formulated to give you the edge you need in the gym and in life. Whether you're looking to build muscle, increase endurance, or boost recovery time, All Sport Pharmaceuticals has you covered. And with a wide range of products designed for people of all levels, you're sure to find the perfect supplement for your needs. So why wait? Give your body the support it deserves with All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Visit their website today to learn more and start achieving your fitness goals. Is that something that with your clients that you don't necessarily like make them adopt that, but do you educate them at all on that, or do you give them like ideas on like, here are some possible options if you're thinking about this? Like, how do you try to incorporate that, if at all, with your clients?
It depends if they're open for it. I don't push anything on anybody. My job as a nutritionist is to take you where you are right now and make you better. So I don't force anything on anybody. But they do start to question, hey, I know you're able to do X, Y, and Z. Maybe on the next meal plan that you send me, or how can, or maybe next week I want to try to incorporate more, maybe one dish. There are some athletes that are curious, and I tell them this: start one meal at a time. Start one meal at a time. Switch them out, find out what you like, find your consistency. There are a lot of clients who, I show them how to make protein ice cream, how to make protein waffles and pancakes, and they're plant-based,
Right.
So there are some meals in there. And, I have professional bikini competitors all the way until, IFBB Pro classic guys at the Olympia level. So, like, it's one of those things where they'll incorporate it as they want to. Once again, I'm never going to force them to do anything they don't want to, because my job is to take you where you are now and make you better. And by making you better, I just educate you on certain foods. Okay, stay away from these foods because these foods do this. Like, I always have athletes run certain things, like run blood work, allergy tests, etc. Because I need to know the more information that I can get from a nutrition standpoint, the better I can feed you. I know I can train you. I'm a master trainer. I've trained over 200 trainers. So, like, I know that the training is going to be top notch. I have to pair the training with the nutrition and pair the nutrition with the training. So if anybody out there is listening to this, don't let anyone tell you that nutrition is more important than training and training is more important than nutrition. Doesn't work like that. You can't eat like a gorilla and train like a rabbit. You can't eat like a rabbit and want to look like a gorilla. Doesn't work that way. If you want to look like a gorilla, you need to train like a gorilla and you need to eat like a gorilla. If you want to look like a rabbit and eat salads all day, then you will look like a rabbit that eats salad all day. It's common sense. So going off of what you were talking about before, about, is there something different? A macro is a macro, right? So your protein is protein, your carbs, your fats are fats. So as long as you're getting in the protein, carbs, and fats that your particular body needs to gain muscle or burn fat, it will happen. You just have to be methodical. Some people eat too many inflammatory foods and they wonder why they have a six-pack, but it looks like they're pregnant. Or they get on stage and they're holding a film of water because they're eating too many inflammatory foods.
Is that something that maybe in your blood work you found that you or people that you work with who do incorporate more plant-based foods, that their blood work is any better, or that they don't necessarily need the same supplements that other bodybuilders would need?
Each individual, has individual needs. So I can't make a blanket statement. I can say that for me, when I do blood work, like, I have zero cholesterol because I don't consume meat. So I have zero cholesterol, right? But there was a time where my vitamin D levels, it was wintertime, my vitamin D levels were slightly lower than my doctor would prefer, because my doctor used to be a professional athlete and actually like understands that I'm a professional bodybuilder and I train really hard. So I was taking MTS Nutrition Vega D3, and it is a D3 supplement that comes from lichens. It's a moss that grows on the mountains of trees, right? So all I did was increase one pill because I actually showed him the ingredients, and he said this is actually a good supplement. So instead of me prescribing you D3, why don't you try to take it from one pill to two pills? I did that. Boom, blood work, phenomenal. Now my D3 levels perfect. I did have an electrolyte imbalance at one time, and it was just because I do the sauna 30 minutes, 7 days a week. Sometimes when I'm traveling, some saunas are like hotter than others and some are not. So there was a time where my electrolytes were a little off. Once again, I just supplemented my electrolytes. I'm a big fan of electrolytes, sodium, potassium, magnesium. So use a product called MTS Nutrition's Naturalite, and that has a coconut water extract. It's a coconut water powder extract to allow your body to absorb those nutrients, right? So I've had people who eat meat who I would have to incorporate like a greens and reds just to be able for them to hit that. Like, even though I am plant-based, let's be honest, right? So I am plant-based, but it is very difficult to eat 15 fruits and 15 vegetables every single day, especially with the amount of carbs that I'm eating right now, bro. It's crazy. I'll eat a whole watermelon in one meal if I wanted to, because that's the amount of carbs I need. So I even incorporate, greens and reds, I am big on natural supplementation, but I don't push it on anybody. If someone, says, hey, my joints are hurting, I would take a look at their food first. Okay, you're eating inflammatory foods. Maybe the gut bacteria is not as high because there are two types of bacteria in your gut. There's a negative and a positive. And with those being said, if your negative is higher, if you're a woman, you'll get more yeast infections if your negative bacteria is higher. With men, you'll be very, very inflamed and your stomach will start protruding. So you can have a six pack and still have a protrusion. Just women as well, they can get that protrusion. But that's one of the things that I know the women that are watching this are going to sit down and take notes and be like, oh shit, that causes yeast infections. I got to get rid of that, because obviously women don't want that. So it depends on the individual, but, some supplements are necessary. A multivitamin is a multivitamin. I'm big on minerals. So I love sea moss, bladderwrack. I love herbs. So like sea moss has 92 of the 102 minerals your body needs to live. And when you combine it with bladderwrack, you get 102 of the 102 minerals your body needs to live. It also detoxes your body from heavy metals. It also detoxes your body from fluoride. It also detoxes the body from poisons in the body that can make your negative gut bacteria rise. In some women, it can cause candida. So you'll notice that when you're consuming certain herbs, it's going to be kind of tough, man, because like you won't feel hungry because you're actually feeding your cells. Like, have you ever eaten a meal and when you're done eating, you're like, I'm still hungry?
Yeah.
Well, that's because the amount of not macro, but micronutrients in there is not enough. So even though you just ate, the body's like, yeah, but I didn't get those minerals. I didn't get the vitamins. I didn't get the extra nutrients I thought I was going to get. And that causes your body to send a signal to the brain to say, hey, I'm hungry.
Yeah, that makes sense in terms of like just the average person you think about who is just constantly eating, snacking, on bad foods. They're just, I guess that makes sense in regards to like their body and their brain is trying to get them what they need. They're just not giving it the right things. For those people out there who are interested in like that plant-based stuff though, what are some of the staples or some of the things that you keep in kind of the rotation as far as like some really good sources for the carbs, for the fats, for the proteins?
So for carbs, this is going to be easy because almost every single carb is going to be plant-based, unless you're eating cardboard or a cereal box. So, you know, yams, island food like batata, guineos, yuca, jaltea, cassava. Those are going to be your starchy carbs. You don't want to consume too much starch because that can make the body get off balance. But those are going to be your carbs that come from the earth that are just going to get your bang for the buck. So a small amount is going to give you a lot of carbs. But I personally love bananas, watermelons, because watermelon contains L-citrulline. So that's going to help with vasodilation. It's going to help with boosting the pumps, the nitric oxide level while you're training. So it actually enhances your training by eating watermelons alone. Bananas, mangoes, just don't eat too many mangoes. Um, I like black rice or the forbidden rice. Quinoa is good. Quinoa has an amino acid profile that is a complete protein. So, for every 30 grams of carbs, you're going to get roughly about 10 grams of protein that are complete plant-based proteins for that. But I wouldn't tell anybody who's watching this to eat 1,000 grams of quinoa so that they can get 100 grams of protein, because now you're going to look soft because you're over consuming your carbohydrates. So when it comes to fats, I love peanut butter. I love nuts. So cashews, a handful of cashews, it's it gives the equivalency of 2 pills, and I'm not going to say the actual medication name, but 2 pills of an antidepressant. Cashews alone. So I love pistachios because pistachios have melatonin in it naturally. So, if I want to wind down on my last meal, I'll add pistachios into that last meal, or a pistachio butter. I like to use nut butters. I'll put it on my rice. I'll put it on my sweet potatoes, my oatmeal. There's also something called farro. It's an ancient grain that does not contain the protein of gluten. So most people don't, yeah, I mean, 100% of the people can't really digest gluten, but they've learned to tolerate them and some can't. So with that being said, for protein sources, I use Ambrosia planta, which is the #1 plant-based protein in the world. It's everywhere, Vitamin Shop, TigerFitness.com, etc. That's been my main protein powder of choice. The flavoring system is phenomenal. With that protein, we fortified the protein with sunflower BCAAs and EAAs so that the amino acid profile can be identical to whey, and the absorption and the digestion identical to whey. So, there are studies that state that whey protein has X amount of digestion, absorption, etc. So we have the protein, the plant-based protein that has the same profiles, but it's coming from plants. I also use, vegan outright bars. And every now and then I do use like a protein meat replacement. One of my favorite is Morningstar vegan chicken strips. So like 85 grams gives you 25 grams of protein. It only gives you, like 1 or 2 grams of fat. And I have a place in Australia that sends me texturized pea protein. So it looks like shreds. I guess, to the average person, it'll look like shredded chicken or like shredded pork, but it's dehydrated pea protein and it's texturized to make it look like a meat. And that one, it has 30 grams of protein per serving, 2 grams of carbs, and like 1 fat. I don't even count those 2 carbs in the 1 fat because it's like I just look at the protein as my protein, because I know 1 or 2 grams of carbs are not going to do much. I can get rid of that just having a conversation with you. So those are my staples. And then when I use those texturized, like I make my own stuff. Like I'll make a vegan chicken cutlet or chicken strips, or I'll make a patty so I can make some burgers. Like I don't, just because I'm plant-based doesn't mean I eat salads all day and carrots like a rabbit. I'm a gorilla. I'm going to eat my bananas and I'm going to eat my protein. So those are my staples. Fruits are, if you're a high carbohydrate individual, fruits are going to be the best, because 9 times out of 10, when your body is craving sugar and you're starting to look at things, that was something that you had spoken about not too long ago, where you said there's some people who are snacking but they can't stop. They need to look at what it is that their body's craving because, if you're craving a banana, you're not just craving the banana because it has the banana. You may need the potassium that's in the banana, and the body is craving the food that it knows it can get the nutrient from. Same concept. If you're, in the mood for something very salty, well, it doesn't mean that you want French fries, or let's use that for an example. Somebody's watching French fries. You know how people are on YouTube and TikTok. They get into contest prep and now they're staring at the most disgusting food that they normally don't eat. It's a bunch of French fries on there with a lot of salt. So what does your body need? Well, it needs the carbs, right? Because potatoes are a carb. But more than likely, it's going to need the potassium and the magnesium from the potato. And you want it to be salty, so the body's telling you it needs sodium. So we need to pay attention to the signals. The body's going to tell you things. Hey, if you're craving, watermelon, well, we just had a conversation like 30 seconds ago. L-citrulline naturally is in watermelons. So the body may need that free-form amino acid to be able to allow the body to perform better during training.
We're talking about food. So what about like the hydration side of things?
So that's a great question. So you said what foods to stay away from and hydration. I'll cover both of them easy. I don't like fruit juice. So I know you're probably like, yeah, but you're plant-based. Why? I like to eat my carbohydrates. I don't like to drink them. So, it may take 20 oranges to make an orange juice, yet you don't have the fiber for your body to actually look at the sugar intake and be able to slowly trickle it in. So you'll be spiking insulin drinking the orange juice. I would rather eat the oranges, but let's be real, no one can really eat 20 oranges and not be full. So hydration wise, I love coconut water. Love it, love it, love it. It has potassium, magnesium. It has low levels of sodium, but just enough where it keeps them all in range. Now, it does come with carbohydrates. So in every 16 ounces, you will have 15 to 17 grams of carbohydrates based on the brand that you buy. So if you have the carbohydrates to spare, one of the best things you could drink is coconut water. I actually, because my carbohydrates are very high, I actually take a bottle of coconut water, pour it in my shaker, and then I put my pre-workout in there, shake it up. Now I have some sodium, magnesium, and I have a good 15 to 17 grams of carbs. Now I'm ready to train. So coconut water is one. Watermelons are great for hydration. You can juice them if you want. You can blend them if you want. I personally just like to eat them because they're 99% water. So like you can't really get fat off of something that's 99% water. You know what I mean? And then when it comes to, like, I don't drink sodas. So let's put that out there. I don't drink sodas. I'm not a soda guy. I really stay away from any drinks that have sugar, to be honest with you. All drinks that have sugar, whether it's a cold press, no, I'm not drinking my food. If I'm going to drink my food, I'm going to throw it in a blender and I'm going to have a smoothie. I want those extras. I want the fiber that comes with those things. That way my body knows what to do with the sugar instead of it just spiking insulin. And then now, when you spike insulin, you're spiking a storage hormone. So it's either going to store something in the muscle or store things into your fatty cells. And if you didn't prime the body to store anything in the muscle, 9 times out of 10, it's going to store stuff into the fatty cells and make you fat. So hydration, just to kind of add on to that, as far as being fully hydrated, I tell people when you pee and if it's clear, you should be hydrated. Just make sure you're not drinking so much water that you're peeing out your electrolytes. So I'm big on fortifying my water with electrolytes. So I'll have a half a gallon. I usually have a half gallon shaker that I fill up maybe 2-3 times a day just because I like to drink. I'm always thirsty. I'm thirsty now. And I throw a couple scoops of Naturalite in there, which is an electrolyte formula. And no matter what, if I'm drinking water, I'm drinking it with electrolytes, with minerals. Because, if you're like me and you're very active and you hit the sauna and you're always sweating, you have to put those minerals back in. If not, you can actually fuck up your kidneys just drinking so much water that you're peeing out your electrolytes. Like it's one of those things where a lot of people don't understand how important electrolytes are. So I'm glad you brought up the hydration thing because I'm actually going to make a video on the positive charge and the negative charge on how to use potassium and how to use sodium to hit the nucleus of the muscle cell, split the nucleus of the muscle cell, causing hyperplasia. I'm making a video. I'm going to be doing that this week when I get back from the Tampa Fit Fest. So anybody watching this, it may be over, but Tampa Fit Fest, August 19th and 20th.
Check it out.
Check it out.
um, yeah, I think that that's such a big thing. People get stuck in like if they think, oh my gosh, I need to hydrate or I need to do XYZ. It's like they were doing nothing before and then they go too far on the other end of the scale, right? Like I think we struggle with knowing that there's a good answer somewhere between the two ends of the spectrum. I think we were so it's like, oh, I haven't worked out and I couldn't work out today, so tomorrow I'm going to work out 4 times as hard, or I've never worked out, so now I'm going to start going to the gym, every day, twice a day, or I'm going to drop all my whatever and I'm going to start doing this thing. And when
Yep.
in reality, there's like that middle ground there. Like we struggle with going from one end to the next end. This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout. Looking for a supplement company that's as serious about your fitness goals as you are? Allsport Pharmaceuticals is here to help. Their top-of-the-line supplements are designed to help you get the most out of every workout with ingredients that have been scientifically proven to enhance performance and recovery. Whether you're a seasoned athlete or just starting out on your fitness journey, Allsport Pharmaceuticals has the perfect supplements to help you achieve your goals. Plus, with their commitment to quality and safety, you can trust that you're getting a product that's both effective and reliable. So what are you waiting for? Take your fitness game to the next level with Allsport Pharmaceuticals. Visit the website today to learn more.
Yeah, people always do that. They always. That's why, like earlier in this episode, I told you what I normally tell clients. I say, listen, there's no reason to overnight become vegan or plant-based. Take it one meal at a time. See what your body likes. I have people that they're like, hey, I need to lose 25 pounds. So how many hours of cardio do I need to do every day? And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're not doing any cardio right now. So 10 minutes today is way more than what you were doing yesterday. So let's start baby steps. Add small changes and get the big rewards. You don't need to train 7 days a week if you've never trained in your life. 3 days is plenty.
Right.
Like the extremes. I think it's because people's perception of the more I do, the more I get out of it. But they forget that less is more and more is less. So you can actually do so much and slow your progress down. Even if you're smothering your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your dog too much, you do too much, then now they don't want to be around you. So less is more and more is less. Sometimes you just got to find that middle ground.
Especially when we live in a world to where, you mentioned like social media. I think people get caught up in like in all that, in all the what other people are doing, and I have to be XYZ and I have to be at this place and I have to be doing this event and I have to have this, car or this house or whatever it is, like just taking a step back and realizing that like sometimes, more literally on your brain, more things you're trying to achieve, you're going to be able to actually do less, just having that focused mindset. But in regards to social media, you talked about making a post there about hydration. You have a lot of really interesting posts and, very creative on social media, very outgoing, and you've built a community around that. What are some of the challenges though of like having a community, but still being able to like sometimes say something that your community may not fully understand or like agree with right off the bat until you do like go deeper into it? Like, does that ever feel like a struggle for you to sometimes speak outside of what you're normally talking about or the ways that you normally talk about it?
To be honest with you, man, no. And the reason for that is because from day one, the people who do follow me, I'm the same person that I am today that I was when I first started Instagram. The only difference is I have more followers and I'm a little bit louder, but I still talk the same. I still act the same. Um, I'm a very blunt person. I don't care much about how someone feels if they're asking me my advice to help them. So I've always been that person to where I've actually noticed, to be honest with you, now that we're that I'm thinking about it, a lot of my content started as just food that I was posting. Because you can go all the way back to the beginning of my post and I'll have maybe 4 likes on a plate of food. I'll have like 4 likes, 0 comments. I had no followers at the time. When I started showing my physique, and then people were like, holy crap. And that's when it picked up. Then I started judging. Then I started winning shows, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Fast forward. Now I'm noticing that there are a group of people who follow me for my training content. There are another group of people who follow me for my training motivation content. And then now there's a group of people who've been DMing me because they said this whole month I haven't dropped my one-on-one conversation with the screen where I'm normally giving them a jewel. I always, I have a motto where I'm the clumsy jeweler. I'm always dropping gems on everyone, right? So I'm always talking real life scenarios. So I'm so comfortable in my skin and being me that if you don't like me, cool, unfollow me. I'm not the guy for you. But if you want to hear the truth and you want to learn something, you want to get hype about training or hype about business, like I've even made some posts about business and I've seen so many people who literally just started following me, like, I think the same way about business. So I don't see it that way. I see it as if in this social media era, people want to be so fake that they forget who they are. And they do it for the number. They want to have 100,000 followers, 500,000. I grew up knowing that if I go to war with 5 warriors, I would prefer to go to war with 5 warriors than to have 300 no ones. So you can have 1,000 people around you that do nothing, or you can have 5 people that will ride to the end of the world for you. I would rather have the 5 than that 100. So I always want to be honest with everyone. I'm always blunt. I mean, as a head bodybuilding judge, there are literally pros that want to go to the show, and there's amateurs too, that want to go to the show that I'm judging because they know if I say, oh, you look good at this show, they know I'm not blowing smoke up their ass, because 9 times out of 10, I'm like, listen, bro, you're 8 weeks out. This is what you need to do. You need to come in shape. Posing was better. Let's hone in on this. Let's do this. Let's do that. So I've actually just became more louder over the years because people embraced me for being me and they love me for being me, that it's like easy now. Like at the beginning, I wasn't sure. So yeah, at the beginning, I wasn't sure. Are they ready for who I really am? And I said, you know what? I'd rather be true to me than to sell out. So let me just be me. And if I get the views and the likes, cool. If I don't, I don't. Like I post daily, bro, every day, sometimes multiple times per day. And I've been posting daily for months, years. My thing is this. I don't look at the likes. I don't look at the views. I could care less. I do know when people comment because I do comment back to every single person that comments on my posts. Every person that DMs me, I DM them back. Every person that comments on my videos, I comment back. When I get to 100 million followers, it'll probably take me a long time to get to it, but I will DM everyone back. I will be the same person. Nothing will change.
And you mentioned the thing about, being a head judge and giving people honest feedback in regards to, what somebody looks like, what they need, or whatever that may be. Do you feel like that's pretty common in the judging circles, that there's a sense of like just kind of get this person general noise feedback, and then they'll kind of move on, and we can kind of get the show on the road. Do you feel like that's a thing at all?
What I will say is this: the best judges around the world will take their time out to tell you the truth. There may be some judges out there that'll just blow smoke up your rear end, or, try to speed through and give you the generic, well, twist at the waist and make your shoulders broader and you should be fine. But I mean, I've even competed at the Mr. Universe and things like that where, feedback from the judges were on point. I can speak for myself on how I would display it, but I've gotten some really great feedback from a lot of judges that I've come across. I mean, and then there are some judges that they may tell you, you can't be too nitpicky. So I had a judge tell me, hey, look, what you have been doing is working so well. You have a small waist, you have a big back, you know how to pose your legs. Keep growing the way you are and don't lose your symmetry. Now, to somebody else, that would sound generic, but I've competed in front of this judge multiple times. So this judge is literally saying, I'm watching you, you're growing, you're getting better. So whatever you're doing is working. Keep doing it. Just make sure you don't lose your symmetry. Like we spoke about before, some people choose to force feed and force eat to be able to gain size. That was his indirect saying, stay at the pace you're going because your body is getting better and you're keeping your shape, where other people would blow the shape. So I personally think any great judge is going to give you great feedback. I just go a little bit more in depth as far as I like to talk about what exercises you can do to bring up body parts. I may have the person in front of me hit a front pose, a back pose. I'll move them a little bit and give them some posing critiques just because I feel like I'm the head judge of this particular show. They've waited all day just to speak to me. I feel that it's very rude and disrespectful to the athlete to say, I only got 5 minutes. I can only talk to two of you. I literally went home from a show 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, went right back to my hotel room, exhausted. But I spoke to everybody. I was the last person to leave. Like Steve Weinberger, great judges, man, where they will tell you, hey, listen, if you're not practicing your posing, you're going to lose. I say that same phrase differently. If you don't know how to pose, you will lose. Because if you can't show the physique, great. You spent years building this physique, but you're not showing me how great it looks, then you're gonna lose.
Right. As a judge, a head judge, when you're giving someone feedback, does it ever come into like, hey, what's your next show going to be? Because I know that this particular judge looks more at this or takes more of this into consideration. So maybe, think about doing this better and specifically for your next show. Is that ever a conversation?
No, because I don't speak about politics. So I know as a judge, we have a judging manual and judging criteria that we must judge on. So I do tell people to go and look up the judge's manual, look up the criteria. Because if you're looking like the criteria and posing within the criteria, you're in a good spot. I don't care about Joe Schmo who likes people bigger and fuller, because that means that Joe Schmo is not judging according to the criteria. And I know as a judge, you're told to keep the judge's ethics high. Maybe subconsciously, maybe someone may make that ruling, but this is why you have a head judge, where if there is a tie, the head judge has to take a look and determine who best suits this category. Do you look more like this or this compared to that guy or that woman?
And, looking into the future of bodybuilding, is there a future where human judges are replaced by technology, or do you think that there's a certain human aspect that only a human judge can really relate to that human on stage?
Oh, that's a great question. You're talking about AI judging.
Mm-hmm.
You're advanced because AI judging was something that I was thinking about um 2 years ago when I was like, oh, I wonder if they would incorporate that and how would this work? Because you have to remember each judge is sitting at a different angle, and the world is three-dimensional for now. And the individual has to do their rotations, and then you have to compare the symmetry. So could it be done robotically? There would have to be an algorithm and a generic look that would have to go in. But you can't really do that because there are genetic anomalies where they come on stage and you're blown because they look great from every angle. They have the conditioning, they have the fullness, they have the posing. Somebody else may have a smaller waist, but that doesn't mean that that person should win if this person checks off all the boxes. So I personally don't think AI would work in bodybuilding because it's a subjective sport. I don't think so. Could it be possible? It could be, but then they're going to figure out a way to hack the system. I feel like it would work to a certain extent, but then when there's a tie, that's when there may be issues. I'll give you a quick scenario. You might have two people that check off all the boxes, right? And they fit the criteria. So now, what are you supposed to do as a judge? Well, you want to look at them and see, okay, if they're an amateur, right? And this is for a pro card. Now the question should be, they both check off the boxes, but who on stage out of the two can go on a pro show tonight, can go to a pro show tomorrow and place well and represent their division and look the way they're supposed to based on the category. A computer can't do that. A computer would be stuck with two people and say, but they check all the boxes. I don't know who's who. It'll take the human to say, you know what? That person just poses that much better, smiles that much more, demands more presence on stage. That person looks more like a pro than that one does.
In regards to your future in fitness and coaching, bodybuilding, what does, if there is a 5 year, a 10 year plan, what does that look like, or what are some of the goals that you do have for the future?
Well, one of my main goals is to spread the awareness of the new podcast that we have that we're launching. It's called The Biggest Podcast, hence the whole reason why our whole group is called The Biggest. So spreading the information of we have this podcast, we're moving forward. We have interviews with the biggest names in the industries of what they're doing. After that, we have a couple more businesses that we have created in the pipeline. So I'm a person that I do everything by the numbers, and I do it where timing is everything. So even though we have three companies that we have worked on, the podcast is the next company that we're launching, and then the next company will probably launch within the next 6 to 12 months after, but they're all in unison with each other. Just getting booked for more fitness expos to help spread the awareness. This year we've been doing a lot of bookings, so next year will be the same. And hopefully within that 5 year span, we can go ahead and circle back around, and you and I can sit back down and I can tell you, remember that day we was on that podcast and I told you I was going to drop something that I knew was a multi-million-dollar deal? We'll get to it.
It certainly sounds like, things are in the works and things have kind of been in the works, and there's this kind of like grand plan. But no, man, it was really great getting to chat with you, and best of luck with the podcast and, creating and continuing to spread that message. I think it's a great message that you are spreading in regards to just generally health and fitness and helping people and motivation and business and all that kind of stuff. So it's really good to get to chat with you tonight. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. And if you want to, before we head out, just kind of share your socials, website, all that kind of stuff. Go ahead.
Sure. I am Barbarian Hak on all social media platforms. BARBARIANHAK. So follow me on Instagram and all social media, and follow We the Biggest Official on Instagram. We the Biggest Official on Instagram. That is the platform for the podcast where we're showing all of the behind the scenes of us interviewing Jay Cutler, Brandon Curry, Sheamus from the WWE, Slim Thug, who is a big rapper from Texas. I mean, there's so many names. I don't want to bore you. Tune in, stay tuned, and follow my man right here because he's got a great podcast.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below.